Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, and I've got some news that fans of Sister Wives won't want to miss. Mark your calendars. On August 20th, the next season will hit the airwaves. And from what we've seen, the family's world is still on shaky ground. If you've been following along since season 17, you probably know by now that a lot of what we see on the show, well, it's not exactly the full truth. Some storylines are scripted, some are reenacted, and honestly, fans have been spotting holes in their narratives for a while now. Recently, there's been a lot of chatter about Kate and John Gosselin and their very public custody battles. Colin Gosselin spoke out, saying he didn't want to film, and that his mother placed him in a situation that led to acting out. Basically, he was caught in the crossfire of reality TV and family drama. Now, the Browns didn't put their kids in a separate facility, but they did force an adoption, and there are some striking parallels here. Robyn Brown's ex-husband is in a legal battle, and I've actually gotten my hands on court records and text messages she submitted as part of her case. They shed new light on what happened with Dayton and reveal a pattern. An accident happened, not caused by Preston, while Dayton was supposedly with Kody. Kody wouldn't pay for the damages unless Preston gave up custody. Manipulative? Absolutely. Sickening? You bet. And here's the kicker. The whole ordeal became a storyline on national TV. The Browns had deep pockets, and TLC had incentive to frame the story a certain way. At the heart of it, money, filming, and control over the narrative. Before we dive in, I've got a favor to ask. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell so you're notified every time I go live or post new content. Drop a comment if you've got thoughts, and share this video with friends who follow Sister Wives. So, back in Season 8, Episode 1, we learned that Dayton, back then legally named David Jessup, had an accident while Robyn claimed he was out of town with friends on an ATV. The show made it seem like he was visiting his dad in Montana, which led many viewers to assume it was his dad's fault. Robyn, meanwhile, played the caring martyr mom. But last year, I got a copy of a lien from Clark County, Las Vegas, dating back to 2013. It confirms that David Jessup, Dayton, was hospitalized from November 22nd through November 24th, 2012, well before the adoption. This detail flips what many people thought about the accident and custody story. Here's where it gets really important. Dayton was actually in Las Vegas when this happened, not out of town like the show suggested. Given how serious the accident was, there's no way they would have taken him hours away to Montana. This was an emergency. The severity meant he needed immediate care, and the closest hospital was in Las Vegas. Because Robyn didn't have proper insurance for Dayton, a lien of $31,000 was placed on her home, which she had to pay. So much for the narrative that he was out of town. The facts tell a very different story. Fans who've assumed this accident happened in Montana, in Pinedale, are mistaken. Text messages Robyn sent to Preston show that he was completely in the dark about the situation and had to get information from Dayton himself when he finally saw him in December 2012. Fast forward to 2015, and Robyn filed a motion to terminate Preston's custody. Her argument to the judge painted him as neglectful. He owed child support, wasn't spending time with the kids, and the children supposedly didn't want to see him. The court records I got several months ago showed just how messy this custody battle was. Initially, the focus was on her debt after the divorce, but the custody issue was a tangled web, and TLC built it into a storyline. Kody needs to adopt the kids, Preston is the bad guy, and Robyn is the devoted mom. As part of her case, Robyn submitted text messages between her and Preston. These were meant to show he was being difficult or doing things harmful to the children's well-being. One text exchange took place in late November and early December 2012, right before the kids were supposed to visit Preston over the holidays. Dayton had just been in the hospital, and Robyn's message emphasized the importance of positivity. I really need you to be positive with Dayton. He's just beginning to heal. I need his mind to stay bright and not feel like a victim. Everyone around him is telling him how cool and tough his scars will look. He needs that from you and your family too. Please help him make sure this isn't a stumbling block for him. Preston replied, "Sounds good." The kids visited him until December 30th. Everything seemed fine, and the custody exchange went smoothly. But here's where the tension rises. After picking the kids up on the 29th, Robyn sent Preston a message about how the visit had gone. Apparently, Dayton told Preston about the accident, and Robyn was furious. "I cannot believe how upset the kids were when I picked them up. You're dragging them into adult issues and upsetting them. It's not emotionally healthy. If you need to know anything about Dayton's accident, you should ask me, the parent. You never called or checked on him yourself. You cornered him, twisting his words. Our parenting plan states we should not drag them into adult issues. I need you to make this change. If you can't," and that's where things start to get really messy. Robyn even threatened to go to the judge to make sure Preston does what he's supposed to do. She wrote that the kids were tired of him pressuring them to live with him, claiming it was a moot point because the judge would never approve it. On the show, she paints the picture that David never wanted to see the kids, that Preston never wanted to see the kids, and that Preston was somehow pressuring them. But here's the irony. She gets upset at him for asking Dayton about the accident. Now, asking a kid, "Hey, what happened?" doesn't seem like a big deal, right? But of course, if Preston asked Dayton directly, he might get the real story. If he only asked Robyn, he would get a watered-down version that could be protecting someone, or at least shaping the narrative for the cameras. According to a source close to Preston, Dayton was actually with Kody and some of the other boys when the accident happened. Dayton had almost no experience riding an ATV, and he accidentally drove it into a barbed wire fence, which caused the serious injuries. Kody was reportedly there, and one of the biggest questions circling was, who was he with, what exactly happened, and how badly was he hurt? Any concerned father would naturally want to ask those questions. Dayton was a teenager at this point, more than capable of answering basic questions, so Preston was just trying to understand the situation. Meanwhile, Robyn was threatening the court, claiming Preston was somehow interfering or pressuring the kids. And as I went through the text messages, a pattern emerged. Whenever Preston tried to call, Robyn often blocked him, usually citing filming. For example, on August 19th, 2012, Preston tried to call, and Robyn replied via text, "We are filming right now. They can't take your call. We're busy all week at Disney and other activities. Can I call you next week?" On August 26th, he called again, and she said, "I'm working. Kids aren't with me. I want to set up another time to talk." On November 4th, he called, and she texted, "We're in the middle of shooting. Can we try tomorrow?" On November 11th, he asked about Christmas presents. On November 22nd, the day of the accident, Robyn texted, "I need to call you in a little bit. My phone is dying. I'll call from Kody's phone." That day, Preston responded that it might be a bad time and asked if tomorrow would work. Robyn insisted, "No, it's an emergency." This proves that Preston was not there when the accident happened and that Robyn was calling from Kody's phone. The plan was for the kids to visit Preston on December 22nd, 2012, and stay with him until December 30th. For months, he tried to arrange time with them, and every time he called, Robyn's response was the same. "We're filming. We can't talk." Then, she submitted a petition claiming he didn't want to see the kids. But when he finally saw them after the accident, he asked if they wanted to live with him, and Robyn accused him of pressuring them. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Apparently, Preston eventually found out that. So here's the situation. The accident happened while Dayton was with Kody. Because of that, Dayton, who has Asperger's syndrome or autism, believed that Kody, who was inexperienced with ATVs and should have been monitoring him, should be responsible for the medical bills. Over the years, this led to disagreements about money, child support, and who was responsible for what. Robyn and Kody were making far more money than Preston at the time, and for a while, Robyn even suspended the child support requirements. She literally closed the case because at one point, she was on food stamps. From 2013 until 2015, her lawyers were sending Preston letters. "You need to pay. You need to pay to see the kids." But when you look at the actual records, a very different picture emerges. On November 19th, 2012, 3 days before Dayton's accident, the state of Montana officially terminated his child support obligation. The letter states, "Please take notice that the Child Support Enforcement Division is no longer providing enforcement services for current child support in the above case. The assignment of support payments previously entered here is terminated effective November 19th, 2012. This letter was signed on November 23rd, the day after Dayton's accident. Legally, Preston was no longer required to pay. And under this letter, he didn't believe he owed any money for child support or medical expenses. Yet, over time, Robyn came back asking for all this money anyway. By February 2nd, Preston was struggling to see his kids, while Robyn continued disparaging him on the show. This was also when the storyline for filming was being enforced. The kids want to live with us. We want Kody to be our dad. According to Robyn's petition, things with Preston began to drastically change in 2013. Her episode accusing him of basically assaulting her aired on August 25th, 2013. For 6 seasons, she had been portraying Preston as an abuser. Court records show that in 2013, Preston didn't exercise his spring break or summer visits. Robyn and her now husband Kody took the children to Idaho Falls for a summer exchange. Preston kept the kids for 2 weeks, and Robyn didn't ask for more time. After that summer, no one heard from Preston until January 2014. When Preston finally got back in touch, Robyn was very upset. He told her he had been in Guatemala and wasn't required to inform her or the kids about his move. And he even mentioned that he might stay there permanently. Robyn confronted him about not paying child support and medical bills, and Preston explained. Here's where it all really comes together. Preston didn't have to pay, and legally, he had no intention of paying because the child support case had been closed. From the summer of 2013 until January 2014, he stopped communicating with Robyn. And here's the kicker. He even wanted to move out of the country. Why do you think that was? Think about it. Robyn was on national television accusing him of assault and domestic violence. At the same time, she was telling him he had to pay child support when, legally, he didn't. It's manipulative, it's cruel, and it completely alienated him. The court records make it clear how destructive and frustrating this was for Preston. He was so overwhelmed by the constant slander and defamation on TV that he struggled to even communicate with her. One note in the court records even says during his visits, he referred to Robyn in his phone as reality. His family wasn't much kinder. They allegedly spoke negatively about Robyn and told the kids that certain things were too expensive or that he couldn't provide for them, while Robyn and Kody were spoiling the kids with Disney trips and other perks, thanks to being on a reality show. Imagine how that felt for Preston. Accused of abuse and sexual misconduct with no proof, forced to navigate this minefield, and constantly fighting for a fair voice. Fast forward to February 2nd, 2015. After 3 years of believing he didn't owe anything, after being threatened with restrictions on visitation, after Robyn publicly disparaging him, her lawyers finally contacted Preston and asked him to relinquish his parental rights. Even then, Preston hadn't paid the medical bills. According to my source, he was still arguing that Kody should be responsible because the accident allegedly happened while Dayton was with Kody. Preston believed the accident wouldn't have happened if proper supervision had been in place. Robyn and Kody, of course, wanted Kody to adopt the children. They framed it as being in the kids' best interests. We trust this is in the children's best interest. You can resume visitation, but it cannot be legally binding. The children have a strong bond with Kody and wish to be adopted by him. We hope you agree to allow this without a drawn-out battle. The letter made it clear. Preston could continue seeing the kids, but only if he gave up all legal rights and financial responsibility. Kody would cover the $30,000 in medical bills and the $5,000 in back child support, but only if Preston signed over his rights. Otherwise, they'd have to litigate everything separately. To make this happen, they even transferred the case from Montana to Nevada. Kody's position was straightforward. I'll pay, but you need to give me the rights to the kids. Meanwhile, the kids were being told that their dad didn't want to see them, that he didn't care about them. But behind the scenes, there was another big conflict brewing. According to my sources, Preston was privately arguing with Kody and Robyn about filming. He didn't want the kids on reality TV. He didn't want their lives exposed to the public, worried about bullying at school, or facing ridicule for being part of a polygamous family. He believed it could seriously hurt them. Robyn, on the other hand, dismissed his concerns. She framed it as opportunities for the kids, the trips, the exposure, and the money would give the family a more comfortable life. She wasn't interested in pausing filming, no matter what Preston thought. So, now there were two major issues. Preston didn't want the kids filmed, and he was still disputing the medical bills for Dayton's accident. Eventually, it came to a head. The offer was this. Kody and Robyn would cover the medical bills, allegedly caused by Kody, if Preston gave up his parental rights. He would still be allowed to see the kids, but legally, he'd have no claim. My source says Preston reluctantly agreed. Why? Because TLC was involved. The network had its narrative, its pockets, and it was all playing out on television. Preston didn't have the resources to fight this legally, no network funding for his attorneys, no storyline to pay for a legal battle. He agreed under two conditions. 1, he would still be able to see the kids, and 2, Robyn would stop publicly disparaging him. Remember, she had accused him on TV of stealing her purity and of abuse, claims that were never filed in court. In fact, if you look at their divorce and custody filings, there isn't a single allegation of abuse or domestic violence by either party. None. The entire legal conflict was about money and irreconcilable differences. All Preston wanted was to stop the public attacks and maintain his visitation. They reached that agreement, but here's the heartbreaking part. Preston apparently hasn't seen the kids since around 2016 or 2017. His visits didn't last long, and my source says Robyn essentially alienated the children from him. The kids have no idea that he's now dealing with a serious illness. He has a form of leukemia. They don't respond to his attempts to contact them, and even other family members, like his niece, can't reach him through the children. It's eerily similar to what happened with John Gosselin, where TLC had incentives to keep the kids on the show. When a parent refuses filming, one way to clear the path is to get them to give up legal rights. In Preston's case, they effectively blackmailed him. Pay up or give up your rights. In the end, they told Preston, we'll cover the medical bills as long as you give us the kids, but you can still see them. But they didn't actually hold up that promise. There's documented proof in text messages showing that Preston loved his kids and repeatedly tried to see them. It's a truly sad story. And now, with the serious health challenges he's facing, he has a form of leukemia. It's heartbreaking that his children haven't had contact with him. I even asked a family member, and they confirmed that the kids may not even know the full truth. They might never know how deeply the alienation went, and they may not understand what really happened for years. It's tragic. Unfortunately, men in situations like this often can't win. And in this case, there were so many complicating factors: TLC, the filming, the money, the family dynamics. It's overwhelming. My heart goes out to Preston. And honestly, it goes out to the kids too, because they've been misled and manipulated. It's clear how the system and the reality show environment were leveraged against him. He couldn't even ask a question about his own child's accident without being accused of pressuring them. Meanwhile, Robyn presented the story on national television as if the accident happened out of town, subtly implying it was the father's fault. But we know the truth. Dayton wasn't with his dad. He wasn't with Preston. It happened in Las Vegas, and it was a serious emergency. So, what else have they lied about? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!